In a surprising turn of events, the United States and Canada, longtime allies and trading partners, find themselves locked in a bitter trade dispute. The catalyst? A proposed 25% tariff on Canadian imports by the United States. While the actual implementation of the tariff was delayed, the mere threat sent shockwaves through the Canadian economy and ignited a firestorm of political backlash. This seemingly sudden escalation of trade tensions belied a growing undercurrent of protectionist sentiment in the United States, creating uncertainty and anxiety for businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. The proposed tariffs, targeting a wide range of Canadian goods, from steel and aluminum to automobiles and agricultural products, threatened to disrupt deeply integrated supply chains that had long defined the North American economy. The move was seen by many in Canada as a betrayal of the spirit of free trade and a direct attack on Canadian sovereignty. The response from Canada was swift and unequivocal: retaliation. What followed was a tit-for-tat exchange of tariffs, escalating tensions and casting a long shadow over the future of the United States-Canada trade relationship. The economic stakes were high, with billions of dollars in trade and thousands of jobs hanging in the balance. The dispute also had significant geopolitical implications, potentially undermining the long-standing alliance between the two countries and reshaping the dynamics of North American trade. The world watched closely, wondering if this trade war would spiral out of control or if cooler heads would prevail. Canada's response to the United States tariff threat was not limited to the federal government. Across the country, provinces took decisive action, demonstrating a united front in the face of economic aggression. From coast to coast, provincial governments implemented a range of retaliatory measures aimed at applying pressure on the United States and protecting their own economies. The message was clear: Canada would not be bullied. British Columbia, a major gateway for United States-Canada trade, took a particularly aggressive stance. Premier David Eby announced the imposition of new tolls on United States trucks traveling through the province to Alaska, impacting over $720 million worth of goods annually. In a move that made headlines, British Columbia also banned the import of liquor from United States led by Republican governors, a symbolic gesture aimed at highlighting the partisan divide fueling the trade dispute. Not to be outdone, Nova Scotia barred United States companies from bidding on government contracts and doubled road tolls for American trucks. Alberta, Canada's energy powerhouse, hinted at potential disruptions to energy exports to the United States, a move that could have significant ramifications for both economies. Manitoba and Newfoundland joined the fray, banning United States liquor imports and reviewing existing trade contracts with United States suppliers. The United Front presented by Canadian provinces sent a powerful message to the United States. Canada would not be divided in the face of economic coercion. The provincial actions, while largely symbolic, demonstrated the depth of anger and resentment felt across Canada, and underscored the country's determination to protect its economic interests. These actions also served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the United States and Canadian economies, highlighting the potential for widespread economic pain should the trade dispute escalate further. While provinces flexed their economic muscles, the Canadian federal government was not standing idly by. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, facing mounting pressure to respond forcefully to the United States tariff threat, announced a series of retaliatory measures designed to inflict economic pain on the United States and protect Canadian jobs. These measures, while regrettable, were deemed necessary to defend Canada's interests and send a clear message that Canada would not be used as a bargaining chip. The centerpiece of Canada's response was the imposition of $29.8 billion in retaliatory tariffs on a wide range of United States goods, including steel, aluminum, consumer products, and agricultural exports. These carefully targeted tariffs were designed to exert maximum pressure on key sectors of the United States economy and sway public opinion against the trade war. Finance Minister LeBlanc, in announcing the tariffs, stressed that Canada was forced to respond to the unjustified and unacceptable actions of the United States. He emphasized that Canada was not the aggressor in this dispute, but would not hesitate to defend its interests. Beyond retaliation, however, Canada also began to lay the groundwork for a more fundamental shift in its trade policy, a pivot away from its traditional reliance on the United States market and towards greater diversification of its trading partners. Trade Minister Mary Ng, a vocal critic of United States protectionism, spearheaded this effort, engaging in a whirlwind of diplomatic activity aimed at strengthening existing trade relationships and forging new ones. Financial incentives were offered to Canadian businesses looking to expand their operations globally, reducing their dependence on the United States market. Canada also accelerated its efforts to ratify and implement existing trade agreements, such as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, with the European Union. These agreements, long touted as crucial avenues for diversifying Canada's trade portfolio, took on a new urgency in the face of United States protectionism. The trade war between the United States and Canada, while initially a war of words and tariffs, soon began to have real-world consequences for businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. The interconnectedness of the two economies, long a source of mutual prosperity, became a liability as the trade dispute disrupted supply chains, increased costs, and fueled uncertainty. In the United States, the Canadian tariffs hit certain sectors particularly hard. American farmers, already struggling with low commodity prices and the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, found themselves shut out of a key export market. Manufacturing industries that relied heavily on Canadian suppliers faced rising costs and production delays as tariffs disrupted the flow of goods across the border. Border towns, dependent on cross-border tourism and trade, saw a sharp decline in economic activity as Canadians opted to vacation elsewhere and reduce their spending on American goods. Canada was not immune to the economic fallout either. While the Canadian economy was generally considered more resilient than its southern neighbor, certain sectors felt the pain of the trade war acutely. The steel and aluminum industries, already grappling with global overcapacity, faced renewed pressure as United States tariffs made their products more expensive in the American market. The softwood lumber industry, a perennial target of United States protectionism, braced for another round of job losses and mill closures. The tourism industry in both countries suffered a significant blow as Canadians and Americans alike became more reluctant to travel across the border. Airlines reported a 25% drop in flight bookings between the two countries, leading to reduced service and job losses. The Conference Board of Canada estimated that the trade war would cost the Canadian economy $2.1 billion in lost tourism revenue alone. The economic pain inflicted by the trade war was not limited to direct economic impacts. The uncertainty and anxiety created by the dispute had a chilling effect on investment and business confidence in both countries. Companies became more hesitant to invest in new projects, fearing that the rules of the game could change at any moment. Consumers, faced with rising prices and economic uncertainty, tightened their belts and delayed major purchases. The trade war, while ostensibly about protecting domestic industries and jobs, had the unintended consequence of hurting businesses and consumers on both sides of the border. It served as a stark reminder of the costs of protectionism and the interconnectedness of the global economy.